I'm a union guy. But you know what? You talk to union members, and we talked to some here tonight. Union members, in large numbers, are against card check. Card check is about the union leadership, and we make a distinction. Because our campaign, we're looking to earn the support of union members. We stand against the intimidation that's part of card check. And that's not fiscally conservative. And finally, opposition ran on the stimulus bill. And that bill was supposed to grow our economy. It grew the public sector economy, but it did not grow the private sector economy. What it ended up doing was adding to our debt. And so, again, we say to the gentleman from Missouri, show me. On all of those accounts, he's not a fiscal conservative. In fact, what those policies are going to do is lead us towards debt, and really, we're on the road to Greece right now. You look, talk about our deficit right now, $1.56 trillion deficit this year. Over $13 trillion worth of debt right now, which is about, to give it perspective, you know, that's $94,000 worth of debt each taxpayer has. This is an enormous burden on our country. We pay $400 billion a year on nothing but interest payments, just to service the debt. That does nothing to pay down to $13 trillion. All that does is pay the interest on the debt. We must change course. This is an economic imperative, but it's also a moral imperative. We run the risk of being the first generation to leave our country worse off than we found it. We're not going to have that. That's why this campaign is getting passionate, because we know we must change course. So that's the straight talk. You know, clearly we're in a tough spot. But fear not, because we've been in tough spots before. This is a country with mental toughness, physical toughness. You look at what in our history, look at Valley Forge, tougher than the situation we're in right now. You think of the Depression, our grandparents, what they went through, tougher than we're in right now. Think of the early days of World War II. So we know we have significant challenges ahead of us in these coming years. But with our country, with the right leaders and the right choices, our best days are still in front of us. What our campaign stands for, it's actually very simple. And where we get our platform is from listening to the people of the 20th District. And what our citizens want is they want to grow the private sector economy. And we know how we're going to do that. We have to change the environment. Our environment right now is hostile to growth. We're weighted down with too much taxes, too many onerous and duplicative regulations, and healthcare costs that continue to rise. And so our program addresses the problems to growth. We're not addressing the symptoms. Our program, what we support, lower taxes, fewer regulations, and new bipartisan healthcare legislation that repeals the bad bill that moved us in the wrong direction and replaces it with free market forces that will drive down healthcare costs. You know, let me just highlight something on taxes, because I want to make sure that it's very clear that if nothing is done by the end of the year, we're looking at tax hikes. Because in 2001 and 2003, there were a series of tax cuts that were put in place for all the American people that are going to sunset if nothing is done. Now, what that means is to parents out there that your tax credit is going to be cut in half. And what that also means is our capital gains right now, which helps fuel, I believe, the economic activity in this country through recapitalization. If nothing is done, your capital gains tax is going to go from 15 to 20%. The estate tax is going to continue to rise, and some of these brackets are going to change. We need change. We need to be able to keep our taxes. We need to move taxes lower. And that's the direction we need to move in our taxes. We also need to be looking at the alternative minimum tax, which I believe stands in the way of growth. So taxes. Now also, let me say this on taxes, regulation, and healthcare. We won't solve all the problems in America at the federal level. We need like-minded souls who understand that we have to change the environment at the federal, the state, and the local level. We've got great candidates at the Assembly and in the State Senate, and we need to support those candidates. You know, we got to support our local candidates that all think the same way as us, because that's what it's going to take. Because if you think about it, to a small business